Chapter 15. Lord Kalki is attacked by the Mlecha women. Sutta Goswami said, some of the Mlechas were killed when they were pierced by Lord Kalki's arrows, and some of them went to the abode of Yamraj after being cut by Shri Kalki's sword. Innumerable other Mlecha warriors were killed by the Lord's associates, such as Vishakayupa, Kavi, Prajna, Sumantu, Gargya, Bhargya, and Visala. Many Buddhists, headed by Kapotaroma, Kakaksha, Kakakrishna, and Sudodana, joined the battle against Lord Kalki's army. Everyone who witnessed the great battle became astonished and frightened, although the Lord of the living entities felt blissful. Indeed, the entire battlefield became mired with blood. So much blood poured from the bodies of the slain elephants, horses, and chariot drivers that a river of blood was created. In that river, the grass appeared like foam, and the crocodiles in the form of horses created a terrifying sight. The arrows floating on the river of blood appeared like waves. The elephants seemed to form the two banks of the great river. The severed heads appeared like tortoises. The broken chariots looked like boats. The severed hands appeared to be fish, and the beating of the drums seemed to be the sound of the rushing currents. The sounds of the delighted crows and vultures could be heard on the banks of that river of blood. This scene, although apparently ghastly, made the devotees jubilant. Countless warriors who fought from atop their horses, elephants, camels, and chariots fell down into that river with their hands, legs, and heads either pierced by arrows or severed from their bodies by the powerful enemy warriors. Some of the warriors lost their garments stained with blood. Some had their faces covered with ashes, and some had disheveled hair. Out of shame, the survivors fled the battlefield like mendicants running from material entanglement. Some of the warriors retreated, and some felt thirsty, and so they begged for water. In this way, the Mlecha soldiers scattered from being attacked by Lord Kalki's army. The wives of the Mlecha warriors then arrived on chariots, elephants, horses, camels, birds, asses, and bulls to help their husbands fight. These women were young and beautiful, and strong, and they were not concerned about their children at home. These women were decorated with golden ornaments, and they wore clothing that was suited for fighting. They came to the battlefield with swords, tridents, and bows and arrows in their hands. They had steel bangles on their wrists. Some of these women were promiscuous, some were chaste, and some were simply prostitutes. Being overwhelmed by the death of their husbands or fathers, they marched onto the battlefield, determined to fight with Lord Kalki's army. It is said that people try to protect even insignificant possessions, such as things made of clay or wood, that they would quietly tolerate the death of their beloved husbands. The Mlecha women kept their husbands behind them, who were bewildered by the incessant attack of arrows, and advanced to fight with their weapons in hand. When the soldiers of Lord Kalki saw these women engaged in fighting, they became astonished and quickly approached the Lord to tell him of what was taking place. Heard about how his army was being attacked by a band of furious women, he was surprised. He mounted his chariot and went to the battlefield, accompanied by his brothers and their associates. Lord Kalki, the husband of Padmavati, came before the Mlecha women, who were well equipped with all kinds of weapons and arranged in a military flank while seated upon their carriers, and spoke as follows. Lord Kalki said, "My dear beautiful ladies, please listen to my words which are meant for your benefit. It is not proper etiquette for a woman to fight with a man. Your moon-like faces are decorated. Take two. Your moon-like faces are decorated with ornamental dots. By seeing your beautiful faces, everyone becomes happy. How can anyone discharge a weapon at such faces? On your moon-like faces, there are lotus-like eyes, around which bee-like stars are slowly moving. How could a man hit such a charming face? Your moon-like faces have been attacked by Chakra birds in the form of your disheveled hair. Who would be capable of injuring such a spotless moon-like face? Who would be shameless enough to hit your thin and charming waists? Who would be able to shoot arrows into your attractive thighs, which are all very attractive and which are broad and without flaw? After being flattered by Lord Kalki in this way, the Mlecha women said, "My dear sir, because our husbands have been killed by you, we have also been killed by you." After saying this, the women prepared to attack Lord Kalki. But they found soon that all of their weapons remained unmoved in their hands. The next moment, all of the swords, tridents, bows, arrows, clubs, rods, and spears appeared before the women that owned them in their personified forms and spoke as follows. The personified weapons said, "You should understand that this person is Lord Kalki, the incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is from him alone, the Supreme Soul, that we receive our power to kill living entities. He is one without a second, and the supreme controller of all existence. Have full faith in our words. We move about only by his order, and it is by his mercy that we have received our names and forms. We play a part in world events only because of him. Being empowered by the Lord, the 5 gross material elements, which are the basis of the 5 objects of the senses, perform their duties. He is the Super Soul, residing within the hearts of all living entities, and within every atom as well. According to his supreme will, the Mahatattva, or aggregate material ingredients, act as the original cause of the cosmic manifestation, including the time factor. It is the Lord's illusionary energy, Maya, which manifests this material world and bewilders all the conditioned souls. The Supreme Lord is the ultimate cause of the creation and annihilation of everything. Anything considered auspicious exists in this world only because of him. The bodily conception of life, which causes people to think, "He is my husband, she is my wife, he is my son, he is my friend, or he is my relative," is illusionary and not actually factual, much like a dream. This bodily conception of life is also made possible by him alone. Those who are beyond the influence of material attachment and affection consider birth and death to be a temporary interruption of the eternal journey. The devotees of Lord Kalki are above the duality of attachment and hatred, so they know very well that whatever is experienced in this world is not ultimate reality. How did the time factor come into existence? Under whose direction is death taking its toll? Who are the demigods? It is Lord Kalki alone who has assumed different forms with the help of his various energies. The time factor, demigods, and death are just to name a few. My dear ladies, we are not simply weapons, nor do we have the power to kill anyone independently. "I am a weapon, I am a killer." Such words are created by the illusionary energy, Maya, who belongs to the Supreme Lord. When Lord Hari accepted the form of Lord Narasimhadev by the request of Prahlad, who was born in a family of Daityas, we were unable to strike Prahlad. Now, we will also not be able to injure Lord Kalki. After hearing these statements of the personified weapons, the ladies became thoughtful. Indeed, they had a change of heart, giving up all attachment and affection for their husbands by taking shelter of Lord Kalki's lotus feet. Padmavati's husband, Lord Kalki, became pleased by the sincere surrender of the wives of the Buddhist soldiers. Thereafter, the Lord spoke to them about devotional service, which relieves one of all sinful reactions. Lord Kalki described to them the signs of the self and how to execute Karma Yoga. He also explained how one could actually become the master of his own destiny. These women learned how to control their senses by putting into practice the transcendental knowledge received from Lord Kalki, and thus they attained the supreme destination that is achieved by perfect yogis in devotion. In this way, Lord Kalki, the performer of very wonderful pastimes, defeated the Buddhists and the Mlechas after a fierce battle. By his causeless mercy, the slain Mlechas and Buddhists returned to the effulgent abode of the Supreme Lord, and their wives also attained liberation. One who faithfully hears or recites this narration of how Lord Kalki defeated the Buddhists and the Mlechas will be freed from all kinds of lamentation. He will receive a life of auspiciousness and manifest devotional service unto Lord Hari. He will no longer have to suffer the pangs of repeated birth and death. Simply by hearing this narration, one is awarded wealth, freedom from delusion, and relief from the miseries of material existence. Thus ends the translation of the 15th chapter of Shri Kalki Puran. Shri Radha.